What's going on, everybody? This is Juice Audio, and today I'm reviewing the Atom A8H monitors. So before these came out, you only had two options: the Atom A77X, which are not a true three-way, and the Atom S3Hs, which are super expensive. So I recently reached out to Atom to try these out, and they sent these in for review. So a quick disclaimer: Atom Audio has no output on the final say of this video. This video is completely unbiased and it's all my own thoughts. With that out of the way, let's give a quick overview of the specs. Starting with what separates Atom is their folded ribbon tweeter, which they call the X-Art tweeter. This handles treble from 3 kHz to 41 Hz, which plays way past the point of human hearing. This tweeter is a folded micro-thin membrane that has a lot more surface area than a traditional dome tweeter, allowing it to move more air and play faster with more fidelity. It reproduces sound more like an accordion than a regular tweeter moves in and out like a speaker. It's also seated in a rotatable waveguide. This tweeter is getting 15 watts RMS from a Class AB amp. The mid-range driver is a 3.5 dome cone hybrid. It seems they're trying to get the best characteristics from each type of driver, possibly the dispersion from a soft dome and the lower extension of a cone. This driver plays from 40 Hz to 3 kHz and gets 55 watts from a Class AB amp. It's good to note the mid-range is the most important thing on any studio monitor. It's because it's what our ears are most sensitive to. So having this handled effortlessly with its own driver for mid-range drastically improves the quality, which in turn speeds up workflow and helps with mixed translation. So moving to the bass, the 8-inch long throw woofer is a multi-layer mineral design that offers very linear low extension to 31 Hz at -6 dB. This driver moves a ton of air and has a lot of punch and definition. It's going to get 200 watts RMS from a Class D amp. So overall, the speaker gets a total of 270 watts RMS. They have a frequency response of 31 Hz to 45 kHz at -6 dB and have a total SPL of 105 dB. If you want any of the specific measurements like phase, distortion, or delay, it's all listed on their website. I really love how Atom has always posted their measurements and they're not afraid to hide them. Now let's talk about the design. I personally love the design of these monitors. They're modern with sharp corners and have the signature yellow tweeters that stand out. So these are the ported monitors that have the trade-off of ever so slightly losing bass control in order to have greater output, efficiency, and bass extension versus a sealed design. I feel that nowadays almost every monitor is ported and it's more of a preference thing. But luckily these monitors are front ported, so you can push these up against the wall and have very minimal room gain. The ports are very well designed and have no chuffing at all. And the cabinet on these is very solid and have no annoying resonances. Looking at the back of the speaker, this functionality is going to be the same across all the Atom V series monitors, and all the buttons and knobs feel very premium. They have XLR RCA inputs but no 1/4 inch. For room adjustments, we have a bass shelf, a low mid desk filter, and a mid-range cut and boost, and a high frequency shelf. Below that we have the voicings. Pure is going to give you the flattest response made for mixing. This is how the speakers naturally play. After that we have the UNR mode, which gives you a slight bass boost and treble boost. This mode would be good for producing or just casual listening. Next is the EXT mode. Using network cables and a switch, which is not included, you can connect these speakers to Atom's room EQ software called A-Control. This allows you to conveniently control the room EQ without reaching behind the speakers. Also allows for 6 bands of manual room EQ and delay. But the main feature is that it allows you to use SonarWorks and tune these speakers to an average of 37 measurement points in your room. You can directly install the adjustments to the speaker. If you use SonarWorks and know how much of a big deal this is because it takes workload off your computer and helps you forget about the normal problems such as forgetting to turn it off when you print a mix or switching to headphones and changing the calibration. It can be a headache sometimes, so it helps a lot. So before we talk about the sound, let's talk about what goes into making a great speaker. So there are many things that go into making a great studio monitor, but the name of the game is translation. But if a company makes a speaker that does only translation well and nothing else, it most likely would be harsh on your ears and you would get fatigued and uninspired fast. So what really makes a great studio monitor is the balance of translation and usability. And I feel like no matter what speaker you get, you'll always be checking your mix on something else. I personally could get by mixing on mixed cubes and headphones for the rest of my life, but how you can produce music on mixed cubes without destroying your ears in 30 minutes. So it's very important to find monitors that translate well, but also suit your taste. Luckily, in these past few months, I've been able to try a lot of monitors to review, and I found that the 3-way really fits in that gap perfectly of translation and usability. I've tried budget 3-ways, these prosumer 3-ways, pro 3-ways, and also top of the line 3-ways. But in audio, there's always the law of diminishing returns on my mind as someone with a lower budget. And I really feel that these Atoms give you the most out of your money for a 3-way. They give you the best quality, the best translation, the best usability for this price. And anything above this price point, it does obviously get a lot better, but it's not equal to the amount that's paid. I really feel like if you pay, let's say, 3 times more for a different monitor, you won't exactly get 3 times more results. After this price point, I really feel like they're all great, but it really comes down to your budget, your taste, and how they actually play in your room, which is the most important part. So that's why I said I could end up sticking with mixed cubes and headphones, because they literally translate the same in every room, but obviously they're not as functional. So with that out of the way, I'm really impressed with these monitors. They're so transparent. It's like getting a clear window into your mix, and they can be really molded to fit in your room easily. The waveguide gives you a nice 3D soundstage with a lot of depth, but it doesn't spill sound where you don't need it. It really keeps it on the horizontal plane, so if you're going to be standing up and down, that might be a problem, but moving left to right, you still hear everything with a wide soundstage. And the front ports really give you controlled bass wherever you put them. I really feel like when you walk away from your mixing position, these speakers don't really get the room as involved as other speakers I've heard. And with SonarWorks on top of that, you can really clean them up to exactly what you want to hear. So I feel like these fit in a lot more rooms than what I'm used to. So the tweeters hold so much like resolution and micro details, even at soft listening levels. They're non-fatiguing and well balanced. The first thing I really noticed is that I started hearing distortion really clearly, and that could be a bad or a good thing, because sometimes when I heard distortion and it was tasteful distortion on other systems, it ended up being harsh distortion on these. So when you first listen to these, you got to keep that in mind that you're going to hear more than you usually hear. How that's going to translate in the real world is really up to you. I've owned the Atom A7Xs for about 5 years now, and I feel like that line of tweeters people really loved or really hate, and I can understand why. It felt like it was bright, but to me it wasn't as bright. But this tweeter that came down from the higher end S line, I could really see people enjoying a lot more and getting used to than their X series from before. So this tweeter is really an upgrade. It's so much more balanced and refined. It never came across as bright, but it still maintained all that detail I wanted to hear. And the soundstage these give is super wide and extends way past the speaker. Sometimes I would stare at the speaker, and with some songs you can just pinpoint like how music is coming farther from the speaker. It's a weird thing. So the waveguide on these really did their job and is a lot better than their last line. The mid-range on these is really good. It holds a lot of fast detail and snap, and it really implements well with the tweeter. When you look at these two in a line, you can't tell where the sound is coming from, so they really work together nicely. And the mid-range on these type of monitors really makes their mix translate well. After using these and then going back to the Atom A7Vs, it felt like there's a hole in the mid-range. Even though they were measured with SonarWorks and tuned extremely flat, the mid-range on these had so much detail, and it really helped you pick out points that you never heard on two-way monitors. So the low end on these is really fast and punchy. The bass I really felt had a lot of weight to it. So depending on how you have these set up, you most likely won't need a sub. They extend really low, and the way I had them set up, I didn't feel in any way I needed a sub. You can just see in the videos that I'm showing you here like how much these extend from the cabinet and how much excursion they have, and you can really feel it and hear that. After using a lot of different monitors, I really feel like some are suited better for different tastes. Like some can play more acoustic music, or some are better for hip hop or better for live music. I really feel like these can do it all. They feel detailed in the high end for classical music, for acoustic music, and they also have that bass and punch for R&B or hip hop or even EDM. I only had a small amount of time with these, so I put up a lot of my reference tracks, songs I've mixed, and then songs I test every system with, so I know and understand how they sound. And then when I got to mixing, after I printed the mixes, these really translated well. That mid-range gives you a magnifying glass to hear the most important part of the song. So when I pulled it up in my car, it really translated well. And me personally, I would never judge a monitor on how it sounds in one room. All of what I just told you so far can be completely different in your room. So what I did is took these to the live room and ran through the same mix to see what I was hearing. I ended up putting these more in a midfield, open air type environment. And to my surprise, it sounded really similar. I really feel that these monitors don't include the room in their sound as much as other monitors I've heard. Overall, I'm super happy with these monitors. I have no complaints, honestly. I'm just really sad I have to send these back. But in the future, when I do upgrade my home studio monitors, I'm going to end up going with these. If you're looking to get Atom A7Vs, I would definitely go with these instead if your room can accommodate them. I've used the Atom A7Vs a lot, and these are a different league compared to those. Even though they are double the price, I would 100% go with these instead. So that's all for today. If you guys have any questions, just leave them down below in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and like on the way out. Cheers.